Good morning all. My name is Jones Maruma. I'm the senator for Taita Taveta. I'm the vice chair of this committee.
And I'm Moses Otieno Kajwang, senator from Homa Bay County and the chair of the committee. We are supported by a team of clerks. Please go on record.
Good morning. My name is George Otieno, committee clerk. Chair, the permission, I requested the members of the team to come on record.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Chris Pastima, committee clerk.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Malcolm Gogi, legal counsel.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Annette Haela, research officer.
Morning, Chair and members. William Zento with the answered.
Morning, Lydia Kagumba, protocol officer.
Morning, Andrew, protocol officer.
Chair, that's all from us.
Okay, the Office of the Auditor General.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Patrick Muriuki. I'm a liaison officer from the Office of the Auditor General. Chair, we have a big team from Eldoret Region Office representing the director who is away in Mombasa for planning meeting. With your permission, I want to request you to allow them to come on record.
Okay.
Morning, Chair. My name is Gabriel Juma. I am Audit Associate 2, representing the Office of the Auditor General. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Isaiah Kanidi, an auditor from the Office of the Auditor General.
Morning, Chair and members of this meeting. I'm Patrick Kimani, a principal auditor.
Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. The ESCC.
Morning, Chair and members. I'm Patricia Chebet, an officer from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission attached to this committee.
Karibu, control of budget.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Gilbert Gachanja from the Office of Control of Budget and an officer attached to this committee.
Karibu, and finally the National Treasury.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Endith Kanata from the National Treasury.
Those are the stakeholders on our side. Clerk, did we invite the County Assembly of Uasin Gishu for this?
Yes, Chair, we did. I'm informed this morning by the clerk of the assembly that his members are somewhere in South Sea attending a legislative summit, that they're not able to come to this meeting.
Okay. I think it then would be unfortunate that we cannot have the conversation together, yet the constitutional timelines apply to both parties. Governor Uasin Gishu, please go on record.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. Good morning.
Morning.
This is Governor Uasin Gishu County, Jonathan B. And I have my big team here. Let them introduce themselves.
Yeah, you just say your name and what you do in the county.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and members. My name is Mika Rogony. I'm the CCM for Finance and Economic Planning. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chair. Mr. Eliud Kipkorir, the Chief Officer Finance, County Government of Uasin Gishu.
Good morning, Chair. Sila Rono, immediate former Director of Finance, current Secretary County Public Service Board. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and all members present. My name is Philip Melly, the County Secretary.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Meto Sylvester, County Attorney.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. I'm Joseph Lagat, the CC member for Roads and Public Works.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Boaz Kimeli Bulbul, the County Solicitor.
Good morning, Chair and members present. I'm Mary Kiaria, Internal Audit.
Good morning, Chair. Jose Abeto, Director Liaison Uasin Gishu.
Good morning, Chair and members. I'm Lamai Jonah, Director Revenue Management.
Good morning, Chair. Sarah Siambi, the Head of Supply Chain.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Nathan Koech, Director Human Resource Management.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Chelagat Caroline, Deputy Director Finance.
Does that summarize the delegation from Uasin Gishu?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, you are welcome to the Senate. We shall proceed with the next order. I also want to welcome the members of the press who are present. Next would be the administration of oath. The clerk of the Senate will guide the governor in that.
I, Jonathan B. Chalilim, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this committee in respect of the matters before the committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Whereas you sent your responses in advance, you will need to table them formally.
Mr. Chairman, sir, I hereby table the following documents before the committee. 1. Management responses and accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on County Executive of Uasin Gishu for the year 2024-2025. 2023-2024, sorry, Chairman. Management responses and accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on the receiver of revenue for the County Executive of Uasin Gishu for the financial year 2023-2024. And then finally, management response and accompanying annexures on the report of the Auditor General on the County Revenue Fund for the County Executive of Uasin Gishu for the financial year 2023-2024.
Okay, Clerk of the Senate, could you confirm that those responses came to us within the timelines that were prescribed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do confirm that we received the responses within the timelines that you had set.
And Auditor General, would you confirm that you have been able to interrogate the responses from the county? Okay, so in your view, Auditor General, we can proceed. We have 3 reports to consider. The report of the receiver of revenue, has been looking at the brief of the Auditor General. The Auditor General carries out the audit. They are the professionals, they have the tools, they have the constitutional mandate, they have the power to compel the production of records and evidence. The Auditor General was in Uasin Gishu, and they brought a report to the Senate on the 31st of December 2024 in compliance with the requirements of Article 229 of the Constitution of Kenya. The Senate is now seized of the report of the Auditor General. In our understanding, the actual technical and professional audit ended when the report was tabled on the 31st of December. What Parliament now needs to do is to debate, consider the report, and take appropriate action. Starting with the report of the County Executive of Uasin Gishu, I think it's the longest one. The Auditor General had raised 46 issues. In a preliminary brief, the Auditor General has reported that subsequently they have found evidence that could support the resolution of 28 issues. And subsequently the county has provided evidence that could partially support 10 issues. And that out of the 46 issues, 10 still stand. I think let me go back to those numbers. That out of the 46, the auditor has been provided with evidence to justify expenditure on 28 issues. And I'm very careful, I'm not using the word resolved. The auditor has been supplied with evidence, which was not supplied at the time of audit. 8 additional issues, the auditor has been supplied with evidence, which partially resolves the issues that, or which partially justifies the non-conformances or addresses the non-conformances that he raised. But 10 are completely unaddressed. Of the 10 that remain completely unaddressed, the first one is under emphasis of matter. The first one is budgetary control and performance. The second one is unresolved prior year matters. The third one is failure to observe ethnic balance on staff composition. The fourth one is irregular payment of acting allowance. The fifth one is prolonged delays in upgrading of 64 Stadium. Next is irregular extension of consultancy services in the upgrading of 64 Stadium. Next is misstatements, irregularities, and illegalities in the acquisition of land and stall construction of Bororwa Agricultural Training Center. And finally, control weaknesses in asset management. Out of the 10 matters that evidence has not been provided to the Auditor General, about 3 or 4 are policy issues: ethnic composition, budgetary control and performance, asset management, prior year matters. Those are policy issues. Of the remaining 6, I think 2 relate to projects, and the remaining 4 have got a fiduciary implication. We have taken a lot of time as a committee to understand how 46 issues that were raised in the audit certificate, 2 months later, we are told that they've been reduced to 10. And of the 10, as I've said, they're generally policy issues. There were reports of unsupported expenditure, impressed management, projects not concluded or not executed as per the contract agreements. The committee has been at pains to try and understand what happened in Uasin Gishu during the audit. If this was a procurement, it's one of those you'd call an unperforming procurement. I don't know whether there's an unperforming audit, Patrick, in your lingo.
Chairman, we don't have.
So, can we understand how on 31st of December you did not have evidence to support 46 audit queries, and on 18th of March the county has provided evidence to support 36 audit queries? Please, Auditor, help us understand what the audit process was, so that we establish where the problem is. Because if there's no problem, then you can easily say that the 36 are resolved, and we tell the governor to go home. Perhaps as you make your explanation, let me allow my colleagues to go on record. Senator Dulo.
Dulo, Senator Isiolo, member.
And Senator Gataya, you could go on record.
Mwenda Gataya, Kanithi County member of this committee.
Thank you. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. The audit of Uasin Gishu County Executive for the year ended 30th of June 2024 was primarily a two-fold affair. We first of all did an in-year audit to assess and appraise the systems, and then later on we did a balance sheet audit, or what we call a final audit, to verify the veracity of the balances and figures in the financial statements. The entry meeting of the INEA was held on 22nd of August 2024. We were there for about 1.5 months. We exited formally on 16th of October 2024. As we had told this committee area, there was a lot of pressure for us to finish our audits on by 31st of December 2024. So we disembarked or left Uasin Gishu executive to execute other audits. We resumed for the final audit on or around 18th. I'm not sure because we were not supposed to have another exit meeting, so we were only supposed to resume. I think we resumed on 11th November, but I would confirm, and exited on 28th November 2024. So we have minutes of the exit meeting of 28th November 2024. The rule or the agreement that we normally have states that we should provide 7 days for submission of responses to our management letter. We shall confirm when the management letter when the responses to the management letter of the final audit were received.
What's the date of the management letter?
The management letter was, we shall also confirm the date of the final audit management letter. It's in the system.
22nd of October.
That is the INEA. Yes, in the INEA management letter was issued on 22nd October. So we shall confirm the date of the final audit management letter, final audit management letter, when it was issued and when the responses were received. So before we are through here, we shall confirm the dates.
Who was present at the inception meeting? Who was leading the delegation from the county?
The Honorable Governor.
Governor, you are present at the inception meeting. Yes. Who was present at the exit meeting? Who was leading the delegation?
The CC Finance.
CC Finance?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
You can confirm you are present at the exit meeting?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
You can confirm that you received the management letter from the Auditor General?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Can you confirm that you responded to that management letter?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
So if you responded to that management letter, why is evidence coming to the Senate outside the audit period? Because there can only be two possibilities: that you went and cooked the evidence after the audit. Did I say two possibilities? It appears there's only one possibility. Why was evidence not provided to the auditor during this very detailed process from 22nd of August 2024 all the way to December? For us to come to the Senate and all of a sudden we are told that now we have evidence to support 38 of the highlighted audit issues.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, as confirmed by the auditor, they are also working under a tight schedule. But the auditor, what happened, Honorable Chair, is that the audit, during the audit, normally the auditor engages the departments, the respective departments. Respective departments, Honorable Chair, have files. They have a file, the departmental file. So we have two files. We have the file that remains with the department, and then eventually one file that goes for final payment. So during the engagement, Honorable Chair, during the audit exercise, the auditor and the department were engaged and looking at the documentation. However, Honorable Chair, the file that is complete, that is fully complete, that has everything, is the final file that we use for payment. And that file, those files, Honorable Chair, are with the finance department, the payment section. Honorable Chair, so during that engagement, the department and the auditor were relying largely on file, but there were we had other files that also had other additional information. Honorable Chair, I think the fault was on our part. We pick up with the team and say, going forward, the file that should be given to the auditor is the payment file, which has completely everything that which has gone through examination process and all that. The reason why we keep the other file, the departmental file, which has basically almost everything, but it will lack some other critical information, is for the department when they are doing their monitoring and evaluation or they are managing the project, they use it. So it has basically 90% of the document. But the final file, the payment file, is kept and is securely kept by finance payment.
See, I do not feel like you're addressing our concern. You're describing trees. We're interested in the forest. The Auditor General came, all those processes, all those technicalities you're talking about, you're aware of them. For example, the auditor made a finding that you spent 5,465,500, for example, on page 3, issue number 3, just to demonstrate, unsupported health expenses for commissioning of Mama Rachel Maternity Hospital. That you spent 5.4 million relating to the commissioning of Mama Rachel Maternity Hospital, but you are not able to support it. If the auditor has given you a management letter or a draft certificate with that finding, isn't your responsibility to go to whichever department you're talking about and get the supporting documentation for the 5.4 million? Isn't it? Is that a legitimate expectation?
Yes, it is, Honorable Chair.
Why was that not done?
It is, Honorable.
If we take this as an example.
It is, Honorable Chair. The auditors work with a system with the timelines. By the time actually we realized that what they were looking for, whatever documents they were looking for were in the payment file, the time had lapsed. And you know, when the time has lapsed, Honorable Chair, they will not accept. But we later on produced. And I've said, Honorable Chair, that this is something that we picked. And we said, going forward, the file that will be given to the auditor during audit should be the payment file, which has completely everything. It has passed through all the processes, checks for it to be paid. And that is the file that has everything. And that is the file that is normally it's a secure file, Honorable Chair, for reasons that we don't want any document to get lost. So we acknowledge.
So for that reason, you allow the auditor to publish that you spent 5.4 million on commissioning Mama Rachel Hospital and it could not be supported, and therefore it amounts to theft of public funds because of inefficiencies in records management, because of inefficiency in information management systems within Uasin Gishu.
Honorable Chair, we have picked that, we acknowledge that, and as I said, Honorable Chair, it will not happen because I showed immediately the auditors before, but we are showing them when the time, they're using a system that it moves. So going forward.
See, you know, if you went to court and told the judge that I'm sorry I committed the crime, but it will not happen again, it does not stop the judge from sentencing you. It will not happen is not a parliamentary explanation for any act of omission. Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Not availing information in good time is an infraction under the law. So just speaking from the example that has been given by the Chair, the auditor is doing his audit, maybe in a room, and engaging the people from the Department of Health. Maybe you're saying they have some documents, and the Department of Finance also has some documents. And because it's an infraction of the law, you have to assist us while you're writing our report where we shall pin this sin, because we need to pin the sin on the sinner. Now, this non-availing of these documents, whom shall we pin the sin on? Is it the finance department or the health department? Because I'm imagining if this room is being used by the auditor, and then maybe this room 9, maybe room 8 is the finance person, is boarded there. Then room 7 we have the health guys. So how does it work? How is it that the finance department has documents and they cannot just come to the auditor? Are you the one who's supposed to go to the health department and bring the documents? Or is it the health person to bring the documents to the auditor? Because we want to know who dropped the ball during that audit process. Is it you or the health guys? Where do we pin that sin?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Overall, the responsibility of even managing the audit process lies with the finance department. So basically that is so if there are inefficiencies within the department, the finance department ought to make sure that that is corrected or it doesn't happen. But Honorable Chair, I'm saying almost that the file within the department is largely complete. But I'm not saying that as an excuse. It's largely complete. But the file that is with 100% paper, documentation, is with finance. But in regard to your question, overall, finance department is the one to make sure that the audit process is smooth.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Chair. Two issues. One of those issues you don't have to respond to that. It's just an observation that I've seen His Excellency Governor. In the last session, I'm doing my second term in the Senate. In the last session, I fought very, very hard, extremely hard, with colleagues to make sure that Eldoret is conferred with city status. It was not easy. It was a battle. I just looked at the composition of the executive. I am not sure that fight was worth it. I just have to be honest with you. Chair, when you look at the composition of the executive of a city called Eldoret, that you and I fought so hard to confer city status, it's not a good reflection of a city. But that's a conversation for another day. Now, let's go back to the audit issues. Bwana Waziri, you put us in a very awkward situation. Awkward because you're saying you have two files here. There's one file that is almost complete. There's another file that is complete. There is an audit taking place in your county, which audit was opened by the governor, and you closed it. But in the process of the audit, you choose, as you did, to avail the almost complete file and not the complete file. And now we find ourselves in a situation where, and I want to go back again to page 3, the unsupported health expenses of commissioning of Mama Rachel Maternity Hospital. So there's 5 million shillings there that whose expenditure is not supported. I want to put it to you when I see CEC. First of all, that facility bears a big name. So when there is a semblance of fraudulent expenditure on a facility bearing that name, You know where that leads us. And you cannot stop people from talking. People will talk and will say, the First Lady, 5 million shillings to each mandazi and open hospital. People will talk. And as Senator Maruma is asking, we must punish or recommend action against someone. It cannot be, yes, we have learned. Yes, it's okay, you have learned. But who exactly, in your own view, is responsible for this negative exposure? And secondly, Chair, I want us to agree that even as we move forward, stories of we have learned our lesson, it's important to learn lessons. But that cannot be the excuse why what we need to do cannot be done. Why do I say that? Let's all move with the understanding that once a certificate, an audit certificate is issued, that is the status of the entity under review within that year, and anything that anybody does a minute after a signature has been appended on the certificate becomes a subject of audit for the following financial year. So you cannot say, yes, it's okay, you have learned. So we expect then in the next financial year, then we will not see these things. But for now, because we are dealing with this matter, where does the buck stop? Who is responsible for this? I thank you, Chair.
Chair, a quick one.
Senator Mofa.
Chair, thank you very much. I think, Chair, we need to make a decision. We have revolved around this matter now for close to 30 minutes. We are caught in a stalemate where we have a report from the Auditor General which indicates that quite a number of issues were resolved. We also have a position from the executive, from the audit minister, from the governor, where the report was not given on time. So now, Chair, where was our committee? What are we supposed to do? Do we go by the auditor's report, or how do we go about this one? I think we need to have a solution to this effect. Maybe whether we can make some reference to these projects physically. Do we have to make some physical bits, or we just make a review of the whole exercise?
Thank you, Senator Mofa. I think the courts have said that we must look at the process and the outcome, and the process validates the outcome. And that's why we started by the Auditor General giving us an account on how the audit was conducted. Now, CEC, you had been given an opportunity to respond. You veered into technical and minute details which are not helpful to your case. Because I would have expected that you'd just say that, yes, we got the management letter on the dates that have been provided there. We responded on a specific day, and that was it. You went ahead to explain your internal inefficiencies, the silos that you have in the organization. And when we came to this specific matter of Mama Rachel, which really was appeared like a very, very straightforward matter. I'm still struggling to understand why that very straightforward matter could not have been justified when the auditors were there. I'm seeing here you have almost 100 pages of paper. And sometimes the devil lies in the detail. You come with these papers to Nairobi and we start asking ourselves, fine, you're commissioning Mama Rachel Ruto Maternity Hospital. Why do you need to transport 100 women per ward for commissioning of a hospital? You see, we start asking those questions because we have it here. I have an expenditure schedule. You burst 100 women from each of your wards to come and commission a hospital. The question would be, would that be value for money? These questions would not come to the Senate if you had provided the evidence to the Auditor General. So, in line with what Senator Mofa is asking, I need to find out where the blame lies, and then we deal with that before we proceed. Is it the auditor who is in a rush to report, or is it the county which was lethargic in responding? Auditor, where do we lay responsibility on non-provision of documentation?
Thank you, Chair. There was pressure to conclude on these audits, and when the documents were not forthcoming, we were forced to report on it.
So are you owning up that you are the one responsible for a substandard audit?
No, we are not responsible, for we had requested the documents, and actually they provided some of the documents we required, but for these particular ones, they were not provided. So had they been provided?
Auditor, I don't know whether I'm hearing you well. Where was that pressure coming from? And yet the constitutional timelines are in this constitution. They have not been amended for 10 years. Everyone knows.
In your view, how did the pressure contribute to non-provision of the documents, in your view?
Thank you, Honorable. We had the time to complete this particular audit was now much more constrained than we had initially planned or envisaged.
The question to us, Chair, would be...
Isaiah, you are not giving me confidence, and you know you are our guy. You're a constitutional office. Patrick, can you tell us what the problem is? Because if you guys are the problem, we declare you a problem, and we deal with you.
Chairman, thank you, Chair. The dates are set in the Constitution that within 3 months we must audit and report. The Constitution is very, very clear. So after the management letter is done, the governor and the county is given 14 days within which to respond to the issues in the management letter. The management letter was issued and the date has been given and the response was received. When the draft report was given, the county did not respond in time. And when the 3 days that had been given by the Auditor General to issue the report elapsed, the certificate was signed. So the Auditor General was within the timeline that is given in the Constitution. Thank you, Chair.
So the problem is with the governor and his team. Governor, why were you not responsive during the audit period?
Yeah, maybe before the governor answers, I would want to hear what is his name again. Isaiah? Isaiah. Chair, through you, I want to hear from Isaiah whether there was anyone holding a gun on your head who said you must conclude this thing before the constitutional timelines. Were you under any pressure to conclude the audit before the constitutional timelines?
Thank you, Senator Wambua. The office took a position that all the audits must be completed by the 31st of December, which is the constitutional deadline.
You know, you need to inspire me because you went on site on 22nd of August. The reporting requirement is that by 30th of September, the entity should provide the first draft or the final draft of the financial statements, isn't it? So I don't see this pressure because you went even earlier. You went for in-year audit. You did your entry on 22nd, and you have said the governor was present on 22nd of August. So that gives us September, October, November, December, 4 months. I don't know why we are talking of pressure when you had 4 months. 3 months. The financials are prepared by 30th of September, and then the auditors between 30th of September and 31st. Are we manufacturing a problem?
Chair, the way we conduct our audit, we normally provide as a contract what we call a letter of understanding, and in the letter of understanding there is an annexure which lists the documents that we require for audit, for the evidence for the audit to be concluded. In that respect, the letter of understanding is signed by the two parties, the head of audit, that is the director, and the governor. So in the second annexure, there is also a schedule of timelines on which the audit would be concluded. Let me clarify that in this instance, the county government was aware of all the documents which were required to be provided, but they did not provide them on time. Thank you, Chair.
That is what I think we now need to deal with statements of fact. So, Governor, the auditor has said as a statement of fact that in the letter of understanding, there was a schedule of documents that were required, but you did not provide them up to the point when the audit was concluded. And since you are involved in the entry inception meeting, I think, Governor, we need to hear from you.
Even Chair, the Governor needs to clear this feeling in us. Actually, sometimes it's true that during the time of audit, when the documents are not prevailed or availed for review, and they are availed later on, then they are being manufactured because they're not there. If some documents are there and are availed, and some are not availed, then it means the ones that are not there and are provided later on, like lists of attendees and so on, are being manufactured. Allay those fears from me.
Governor?
Thank you, Chair. First, let me appreciate the fact that you've given us opportunity today to appear as County Government of Uasin Gishu. And the matter that you are discussing, it is true. I think shortcut to this thing is just to speak the truth, that just to allay the fears that these documents are authentic. And the reason for lateness, it really squarely lies on the department, because they are line managers, they are line officers who are supposed to avail these documents within the timeline. But again, because of constraints and other issues, sometimes it delays. It is true. But I am happy that the documents were provided, and the documents are there, and next year is provided for it. That is it, Chair. But we want to say it is really squarely lying on us. But again, I think there was a change of timeline, so the speed at which they wanted these documents was so high, and though we're not calling it pressure, but we are doing our best to make sure that we provide the documents, and which we did. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, for your information, Article 2294 has been in the Constitution for the last 10 years. And it says within 6 months after the end of each financial year, the Auditor General shall audit and report in respect of that financial year on the accounts of national and county governments. There was no change of timelines. We just moved from a regime of being non-serious to a regime of compliance with the Constitution. So nothing has changed. This provision has been in the Constitution. And that's why I'm also dismissing any assertions by the auditor that there was pressure. These timelines have always been known. I think what we now need to agree on is how to assign responsibility and culpability. Someone will have to read for us Section 62 of the Public Audit Act, because I think that this is a case that falls squarely within the offences that are listed in the Public Audit Act.
As that happens, Chair, I want to ask the Governor, being a responsible state officer, because I've heard him saying that now he's happy that the documents were finally provided and the evidence adduced. I want to ask him through you, Chair, documents that were made available after the closure exercise that was concluded. Does he want us to consider those documents as part of that audit, or
let me confess, there had been a culture before, and I think there are dynamics on it, that documents sometimes were delayed. And to be honest, this is part of the problem that I'm dealing with, especially from the staff, especially you keep on chasing and keep on asking. I think it is not even started before, but usually later we get these documents. And what I'm asking, and I'm sorry for that, that so long as the document has arrived and we have the support on it, I would wish that as we go forward, I will correct the situation, especially in my county.
So what do you do with the certificate? We throw it away.
No.
So what do you do? I mean,
no, Senator.
You know, we are also in a very awkward situation. You're telling us documents have come after an audit has been concluded, a certificate has been issued. So what exactly are we supposed to do?
Senator, thank you very much. Let the CEC clarify something, kindly, please.
So Honorable Chair, so we are not saying the documents were not provided when the auditor was on site. I mean, out of sight. The documents were actually provided when the auditor was still on site, but the timeline that the auditor works on, you know, you were given a certain timeline. If you don't provide within this specific timeline, it moves to the next process. It moves to the next step. So they were provided at that time when the auditor was on site, but because they work, they have a system, I don't know what it's called, teams. If you don't provide within a certain timeline, then it progresses.
Was that timeline defined and clearly communicated to you?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Did you comply with that timeline? Yes or no?
No, Honorable Chair.
So then the rest is moot. The rest is a story. These only stories are jabber. Legal, please read for us that provision of the Public Audit Act.
Chair and members, Section 62 of the Public Audit Act, as subsection 1, a person shall not, A, without reasonable cause or lawful excuse, obstruct or hinder, assault or threaten a member of staff of the Office of the Auditor General or professional acting under this Act. B, without justification, fail to provide information required under this Act. C, without justification, fail to provide information within reasonable time that is required under this Act. D, submit false or misleading information. E, misrepresent to or knowingly mislead a member of staff of the Office of the Auditor General or professional acting under this Act, or interfere with or exert undue influence on any staff of the Office of the Auditor General or on any person authorized by the Auditor General to perform functions under this Act. Subsection 2. The person who contravenes subsection 1 commits an offence and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or to both. Thank you.
So, Governor, if you consider that Section 62, particularly B and C, without reasonable cause, does not provide records or information required to the Auditor General, it is an offence under the Public Audit Act. And we need to deal with some of these things so that we are sending a message to officers in counties that if your problem is your records management, fix it. If your problem is silos, fix it. If you have problems with staff hiding items, sack them. If you have underlying problems that frustrate the flow of information, make the hard decisions. Here where we are dealing with a report form. Your report form showed that you had 24 pages of issues, 48 issues. But then, after remarking, the 48 issues have now reduced to 10 issues. So we need to know whether the person remarking is the one with the problem or the person who sat the exam is the one with the problem. And in our case, it appears the person who sat the exam is the one with the problem, because your officers did not comply with the timelines that are required and without reasonable cause. That's why we have given you an opportunity to explain to us what happened. And we do not feel that there's any satisfactory explanation that has been offered. The reason why we have spent a lot of time on this is that if the Auditor General tells us that now, for example, for Mama Rachel maternity, he has now seen the supporting documentation. If I'm going to reopen that, I'll become an auditor. I am not a trained auditor. None of my colleagues are trained auditors. We are politicians. We are pragmatists. Audit does not happen at the Senate. Audit happens during those timelines that your CEC has talked about. It would also be very untidy And it will send the wrong message to the people of Uasin Gishu. For me to say that of the 48 issues, 38 are resolved, so we deal with the remaining 10. The remaining 10 talk about ethnic diversity. To Nairobi to discuss the ethnic composition of your staff. I mean, it looks like a waste of taxpayers' money. And yet, those are the only residual issues remaining here. The other one is on budgetary control and performance. The other one is on asset management policy. The other one is on resolution of prior year issues. The only tangible thing that remains unresolved here is the 64 stadium. And sitting in Nairobi, there is no way we can say that a project in Eldoret has been resolved through paperwork. In case in Marsabit County, Marsabit a fish processing plant on Lake Turkana, because Marsabit, Turkana, and the Auditor General came and told us, I've seen the paperwork, the project is complete. When we got photos of the project, the fish processing plant was right in the middle of Lake Turkana. It had been swallowed by the lake. And on paper, resolved. So I want to perhaps propose a certain direction. Number one, we must apply Section 62 of the Public Audit Act. And those persons who had responsibility of providing documentation to the Auditor General and have failed to justify why they investigated and held to account on the basis of that act. Number two, issues relating to projects, and there are quite a number. Ziwa Sub-County, Turbo Health Center, Ziwa Level 5, Uasin Gishu District Hospital, 64 Stadium, issues of civil works, issues of land acquisition. These are not issues that the senator for Taita Taveta sitting in Nairobi can say has been resolved. For the projects, we will now need to do project verification and project visits. Thirdly, because we must do a report to the House, if we were to adopt the recommendation of the Auditor General that 38 issues have now been addressed, we must add the rider that we cannot vouch for the authenticity of the records that have been provided as evidence. Because all these attachments for Mama Lucy, Mama Rachel, Ruto Maternity Hospital, all these receipts, how do we confirm that they're authentic? As sitting here in Nairobi. If you had given them to the Auditor General, they could have given us that assurance. So we don't have that capacity. So even if we are going to do a report saying that, as advised by the Auditor General, issue number 1 has now been addressed, issue number 2 has now been addressed, number 3, but we must add the rider clerks that this committee cannot vouch for the authenticity of the records that have been tendered as evidence. Because we must do a report to the House by next week. But we must come to visit the projects. Honorable members, I don't know whether that could be the direction, because even on the receiver of revenue statement, out of the issues that were raised by the Auditor General, they were 17. According to the Auditor General, you have now provided evidence to support 8 of the 17. And you have provided evidence to partially support 4. So that's 12. So it's only 5 issues that are still outstanding. And the 5 issues are policy in nature. Budgetary control, issues of return CRF issues, So it will not be of any value for us to focus on those academic policy issues when there's a 9 billion budget that has been expended. Honorable members, I don't know what your take is Or maybe let me first hear from the governor.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe the first option, to come to the ground and verify, is a very welcome idea, because once on the ground, it is easier to see what you're talking about and what is seen by your eyes. And I want to say I'm welcoming that idea, that you come to the ground and verify all these projects as they are down there. And it's a very good idea. Sorry, Chair, to say on matters of ethnicity, Senator Wambua, I want to thank you and the team for, giving a good report that it became a city in Eldoret. And before we became a city, I had constituted a cabinet. And I don't know, ethnicity thing, I don't know when does it become what and who do you want to be there, because largely, even the Kalenjins you talk about, there are about 12 different of them within. So I have a face of Kikuyu, if you want me to mention names. And within these Kalenjins again, there are Marakwes, there are Nandis, there are what. And I'm sorry whether I'm missing the mark. Even in the CEOs, I have a Somali, I have a Luya. So I don't know what is it that you are looking for. But nonetheless, I'm very happy. Sorry, Chair. I want to say, before you became a city,
Governor,
I had already formed.
You are taking yourself into very dangerous zones.
Sorry, Chair, but I'm just out of curiosity. I want to say we are aligned.
I think restrict yourself to the proposed way forward that I put forth. Because if you want to get into the substance of the audit, then we might get into the substance. To get to the substance of the audit, then we'll get into the substance of audit and we'll challenge each and every issue that the Auditor General has said has been resolved.
Sorry, Chair, let me follow you. Chair, without going into the substance of and it's a good challenge. I will take it. I went to school in Eldoret, Governor. That's perhaps I should begin to tell you why I fought as hard as I did for Eldoret to become a city. I was in Moja University, and I know that Eldoret town is as cosmopolitan. Even go beyond there. Let's just stop it there. When you say the things that you're saying, it is almost an insult to the basic ideology. Then that's your problem.
I think we said at our last meeting that when you're a city, your thinking must be different. That we approach county governments. And now that the city is supposed to have a board, it's supposed to have its financial statements. We'll also, when we come down to Uasin Gishu, we'll also be querying the effectiveness of the arrangements that have been put in place to give effect to Senate's recommendation that Eldoret becomes a city. And to the people of Uasin Gishu, if we came to the ground and did a doing a hypothetical conversation, not a practical conversation. Honorable members?
Chair, I think that is the best route that we can take now that the information before us is not very clear. Let's go to Eldoret and make sure that we get ourselves acquainted to what is on the ground. But I'm happy that Governor is, Chair, we have been around for some time. You know, we have governors who are big-headed. I am happy that Koti now is sober and humble to this effect.
He has become Koti.
He is Koti. He's no longer Koti Moja. Thank you, Chair. Let's get to.
Okay, thank you. Question?
Chair. We are now in the 13th year of devolution. We don't want to see the inefficiencies that we are seeing when we are starting devolution. But I know there are improvements in terms of management of funds. We used to see the previous audit reports that were giving impress on top of other impress. We are not seeing them here, but we want to improve on the efficiencies. For example, if you have a function in June 2024, is it possible that the people who have impress by maybe July, they have cleared the impress, all the documentation is there, so that by within 7 days, allowed by the law, so that during the times of audit, you don't need to say that there's some documents missing, they have not been brought, and we give the auditors so that the audit is so seamless, and we become even more and more efficient in management of our. Otherwise, governance is very easy if you get support from your staff to get unqualified reports. Otherwise, with these mistakes, wafinya kidogo tu, and you'll see results.
Thank you, Senator, through the chair.
So, for avoidance of doubt, these are our directions that whereas the Office of the Auditor General has been provided with some records to justify expenditure outside the statutory timelines, it is still the view of the committee that we cannot confirm or vouch for the authenticity of those records, for the simple reason that if they existed at the time of audit, they ought to have been presented at the time of audit. And if they were not if they existed and they were not presented at the time of audit, then that constitutes a breach of the Public Audit Act. And we'll be making recommendations for invocation of Section 62 of the Public Audit Act to hold the public officers who fail to provide the documents accountable. We will do a report to the House, and our report will register that reservation. Of course, we will take the advice of the Auditor General, but we'll also put it on record that the audit ended on 31st of March, and therefore any subsequent attempt to justify public expenditure must be looked at keenly and must be scrutinized to ensure that what we are taking as evidence is authentic. We have said that on matters of project, this committee will undertake a visit to Uasin Gishu, and we have looked at our schedule around the second week of April, around second week of April, but we will get a more concrete date and communicate. In our visit to Uasin Gishu, we will look at the projects that the Auditor General has flagged over the years so that we can report back to the House following a physical verification. We don't just want to do a desktop verification of projects. While in Uasin Gishu, if time allows, we could also engage stakeholders, engage the County Assembly to strengthen their primary oversight capacity. We will engage the County Executive and will probably pick a few issues for discussion with the County Executive. We will come for an oversight visit, but we'll also come for a capacity building exercise, because through those visits, we are able to bring these senators who have wide experience on matters of governance and public finance management, and your staff, your directors, your officers can then pick a thing or two, because we don't want any county to collapse on account of lack of capacity. So our visit to Uasin Gishu will be oversight, capacity building, stakeholder engagement, and we hope that if there are records that are required, those records will be made available. If we come to Uasin Gishu and find that the reports you are getting here are just theoretical reports and on the ground things are different, then we will have to ask the Auditor General to conduct a special audit on specific areas. Because as you've said, if it was procurement and responses are not filed within time, it is declared an unperforming tender. And the same principle would apply to an audit report. If responses don't come on time, ideally, the Auditor General should have given you an adverse opinion. In fact, we have had that conversation, that the opinion on financial statements was very lenient. If you had all these issues of unsupported expenditure, these ought to have been an adverse opinion with attendant consequences. We have made a resolution that where there's an adverse opinion or a disclaimer of opinion, we'll be asking the CS National Treasury to invoke the provisions of Article 225 and institute stoppage of funds until there's a recovery plan in place. So OAG, I think you are very lenient on this entity. With this list of violations of the PFM, this ought to have been diverse, or ought to have been adverse. So when we come to the ground and we establish that there are other facts that were not taken into account, then we might then ask for a special audit. It could be a special audit on revenue systems. It could be a special audit on projects. It could be a special audit on financial management issues. So we'll take that decision when we come to Uasin Gishu. Those are the directions of the committee. Unless the governor, there's something you want to say?
Not really, Chair. I just support what you're talking about. We did invite the Committee on Investment to come to the ground, and it has really helped all of us, the committee and even as a county government. And the way forward time has helped us to stabilize. That's why I'm saying I really support that you come to the ground. It will really help all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, just note that for this committee, when we come with the EACC. So they deal with the suspects straight away. So I hope you are still enthusiastic about our visit. Senator Lelekwe, are you going on record? Oh, please go on record.
Thank you, Chair. I was in this committee, but I step out for another committee. My name is Lelekwe, Senator for Samburu County and member of this committee.
Thank you. Senator Lelekwe was with us from the beginning of the meeting. You found us winding up. We have given directions, and I think we have come to the end of the meeting. The committee meets on Thursday at 9 in the morning. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.